long have I waited?
What's up, meta nerds? Of course, this video has some major spoilers for The Rise of Skywalker, so if you haven't seen it yet, just leave a like and come back later, because there are some really amazing details that are fleshed out in the visual dictionary book. All kinds of stuff like how Vader and Palpatine had them, tons on their old Republic and even pre-Republic era history, and it breaks down how they work, and how some of the strangest Star Wars species are behind its creation. So let's start with why it looks like a Sith holocron. Well, that's because it kinda is. See, not all Wayfinders look like this. For example, this cylinder is a Wayfinder that would take one to the planet Alderaan. This one was on display in the Museum of Aldera for thousands of years before, well... So different people had different shaped Wayfinders, and so the Sith ones look like Sith holocrons. But theirs also has this extra Force component, which I'll get to in a bit. During the earliest years of hyperspace travel, you didn't have these clean hyperspace lanes that connected the galaxy. In a time before complex mapping and navicomputer tech, there was no such thing as an easy jump to light speed. If you were lucky, you would have some probe data, but for the most part, you were just blindly popping back into real space. By taking a Wayfinder with you, it would imprint the location of each of your jumps into the plasma encased in a lodestone within the device. The one we see used by Kylo Ren contains part of the nebula that concealed Exegol, allowing for an even finer tuning of this location in real space. These things were used in the pre-Republic era, as in way older than what we see even in video games like Knights of the Old Republic. And so many obscure and ancient species are said to be involved in its creation that it makes this thing especially interesting. The sourcebook states that the neural activity of the Ing Tai and the Gree worked in a way similar to how the plasma in the chamber of a Wayfinder interacted with its lodestone. The Ing Tai are a very obscure species that had a strong and strange connection to the Force. They thought it should not be seen simply as light and dark sides, and they had special abilities like flow walking, in which one could go backwards and forward throughout time, not changing anything but just seeing it from different perspectives. They were just really obscure legends up to this point, but that Force ability is kinda what we experience as viewers in Episode 8, seeing the incident in Ben Solo's quarters through the eyes of both Luke and Ben. The Gree species had a highly advanced civilization over 100,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, where they constructed many works under the rule of the Celestials. If we look at the Wayfinder used by Kylo Ren, the Cathal species were direct descendants of the Old Ones, also known as the Celestials, of which Abeloth is a part of, the mother of that Mortis family, special interdimensional beings with a connection to the cosmic force. But it was the spacefaring creatures the Purrgil that provided the understanding for the very first Wayfinders. By studying the brains and dead bodies of captured Purrgil, they were able to figure out how this species recorded their trips through hyperspace. And so this is a machine using plasma and that lodestone to do the same thing, passing that information into your ship's hyperdrive, just as the Purrgil had passed down information on their ancestral migration paths to each new generation. So all of those are some really crazy connections. Wayfinders like this were how the unknown region worlds of Cella, Ilum, and Mercata Prime were first reached by outsiders. And over time, smaller and simpler versions of these Wayfinders were created, like the Jedi Compass that was discovered by Luke in the Emperor's storehouse on Pilio, and what he used to find the path to the first Jedi Temple on Ahch-To. Both Jedi and Sith Wayfinders could be imbued with their owner's energy in order to attract later Force users. And so though not a complete personality matrix like a true holocron, they do have this extra layer that makes them more than just a machine, something that works for or against a Force user depending on the wants of the original owner. Now there were two Sith Wayfinders that led to Exegol. One was owned by Darth Vader and kept in his castle on Mustafar, while the other was owned by Darth Sidious, who apparently brought his to the second Death Star. Luke had actually heard about the hidden world of Exegol, a place that was imbued with dark side energy in the unknown regions, but he was unable to discover either of these devices. He learned about its existence from the book The Ramagon, which was at least 4,000 years old at this point, putting it in legends around the time of Revan. Luke annotated these books, adding what he could uncover about this mysterious planet and the device, and that's how Rey knew that Kylo was using a Wayfinder to get to Exegol. Now in the era of navicomputers and astromechs, once the path was traveled with a Wayfinder, or even a Jedi Compass, the ship's navigational systems could record those positions too, and thus you wouldn't need this ancient device anymore once you had that first trip. The whole galaxy was connected by a web of hyperspace lanes, except for the densely packed cosmic brambles that were referred to by the ancient writers of the Ramagon as the Galactic Barrier. The perfect place to hide a contingency plan. So that's it for the crazy backstory of the Wayfinders and how they worked. If you want to pick up a copy of this book, I did leave a link down in the description. I just started it, but there's a ton of cool stuff like this in it. Seeing how much ancient stuff they've been throwing in, let me know if you think future movies might go back to the Old Republic era. I used to doubt it, but more and more they keep making it so it could fit in on the big screen. So let me know what you think down in the comments. If you want to connect with us on social media, find ways that you can help support this channel without it costing you a thing, or check out our Patreon, be sure to check out the links in the description. Special shout out to our supporters over on Patreon, but most important of all, remember, the lore surrounds and binds everything, and the Force will be with you, always.